All right, so we're back now, and Commissioner, you're done with your other meeting. You're going to explain to us some of the ways that Rhode Island is working to kind of mitigate that socioeconomic disparity in education.
Yeah. So I think there are a lot of different things that we're doing. I mean, first of all, one of the first steps that we took was to put in an equitable funding formula in our state, which puts a priority on students whose families qualify for free and reduced lunch. So there are extra resources both through state funding, through the funding formula, and also through federal funding. So schools who have students whose families qualify for free and reduced lunch get extra money to be able to provide extra supports. And they make different decisions about how to use that support, whether it's for smaller class sizes or extra supports for students, different kinds of services at the school.
And in your opinion, is that enough to kind of mitigate, the advantages we have in East Greenwich compared to the relative disadvantages they have in the Pawtuckets and Woonsockets and Central Falls?
I think there's so much more that we're doing than that. I mean, we also are we need each district to make sure that our students have excellent teachers and great leaders in their schools.
Yep. So when you say there's more that we're doing, do you mean to say that's not enough?
I mean to say that there's no one thing alone that's going to help us to resolve this issue.
Okay.
There's no question about that. So I talked about funding. Then we also need to make sure that we have great teachers in every classroom and great leaders at the school level who are supporting those teachers.
And do you think we have as great a teachers in Central Falls as we do in East Greenwich?
I think we have excellent teachers in every school in our state, including Central Falls or name the school. The question is whether or not in any given school we have an excellent teacher in every single classroom. And those who are great or who are good or who are doing well are making continual progress and becoming better and better and reflecting on their practice and getting feedback on their practice and getting better and better. And that's the kind of support structure and culture that we're putting into our system statewide. We also have spent millions of dollars developing curriculum. That's something that our school districts were responsible for doing, but for many years, because of resources and whatnot, we found that we had many districts in our state that didn't have curriculum that was aligned to what we wanted to make sure our students were learning, what they knew and were able to do. And so we've been spending a lot of money bringing teachers together, developing curriculum for their districts. Also a lot of professional development. We've also spent a lot of our both state funding and Race to the Top funding on professional development for teachers and for administrators. So it's a combination. There's no one solution. It also requires family engagement. We need our families to be aware of what's happening in our schools, to know what their students are doing at night, making sure that they're reading, making sure they're doing their homework, emphasizing the importance of education at home, being in strong communication with the school.
Yep.
And these are not things that require a socioeconomic background. We have many, many families in higher poverty communities that are great partners with our schools. We just need this family and the school to be making that connection.
And do you see the divide lessening, like given this kind of patchwork of what we're implementing to try and address this problem? Do you see the socioeconomic divide in Rhode Island lessening or becoming greater?
Not from a performance level. We have not seen our achievement gaps closing. So no, we're not where we need to be from a performance standpoint. I do think that we're seeing changes and steps that we've taken, that we're seeing improvements at the level of effort.
Yeah.
But what we need is to see the improvement at the level of results. The other thing I would say about it is that there's a very real reason that we've designed every part of our system to be focused on growth. So whether it's students and graduation, or it's teacher evaluation, or it's principal evaluation, or it's school improvement or school accountability, we factor in growth very heavily. So in other words, we're saying that it's not about just making sure that everybody reaches a minimal level, which is something that's important, but we want all students growing and performing better and better, at whatever level they arrive. So if they arrive into a classroom or into a school and they're struggling, we want to make sure that they're making improvements. If they arrive and they're doing well and on grade level, are they being challenged? Are they making improvements? So that's something that we've factored into every model in the state.
And how much of a priority is it that we kind of work to mitigate the socioeconomic divide that exists in education in Rhode Island. Is that a top priority of yours? Is it not as important as...
Oh, of course it's important. I think it all factors back to the point that we want to make sure that every student is receiving an excellent education.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever challenges that they bring to their learning experience, we need to find ways to overcome those.
Yep.
To help our teachers to overcome them, to help our schools to overcome them, to give them the resources, the tools that they need to overcome them.
And do you think kids in Central Falls and Pawtucket and Providence and Woonsocket are getting as good an education as my nephew is here in East Greenwich?
I think it depends on the student and the school and the situation. There certainly are many examples of young people who've gone
take
to
this middle school where my nephew goes to school, and I'm not sure of the name of the middle school in Central Falls, but I bet you are. Do you think the kids in the Central Falls Middle School are getting as good an education as the kids here at Cole are?
I think it's hard to know that because, there's one way that we would analyze that. People would look at just straight proficiency.
Yep.
More students at East Greenwich Middle School are proficient than students at Calcutt.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean that they're getting a better education? Well, it depends, because we would need to look at growth. If you have students who are already
that's an
proficient
important
when they
metric
come,
for you, though, isn't it?
It's a very important metric, yes.
And then, so what does it say to you that kids from these affluent towns do so well on those tests and kids from the more impoverished communities don't?
It tells me that we have a combination of things that are making sure that they're getting a better education. Sometimes those are school factors, sometimes they're family factors. I think that that's something that we see nationwide, not just here in Rhode Island. But the question is whether or not that we treat that as some sort of destiny, and I don't.
And so how do we overcome that? How do we make it so a kid in Central Falls can get the same education that I got here at Cole Middle School 30 years ago?
We've already talked about that.
Okay.